Would you like to be somebody who understands why life is fairly tragic? Then listen to this entire video where I try to list and argue several painful challenges that people on average experience, and why life can at first sight seem like a negative sum game. Like no matter what you do, you're always gonna have this pain and suffering. And now I don't believe it's a negative sum game, because it really depends on how you react to the suffering and what you do with it, and depending on your outlook. So it doesn't have to be negative sum, but I just want to sort of depict why so many people are nihilistic, and actually I want you to grasp the tragedy of it, because it really is. I wouldn't say all of life is suffering, because there is a lot of beauty in it, but life is sort of designed in a way where you very quickly question, who made this? I'd put it like that. Okay, so I want to make the case that life it really is tough inherently. It's laced with tragedy, dissatisfaction, and corruption. It's not all painful, but I really think it is, yeah, as I said, it's designed in a way that makes you dubious of the nature of life itself. It's like, why would one even live? So people might doubt me when I say, or when I posit the claim that life is just seriously difficult. And I have an inkling that people might not grasp it, because they don't exhaustively understand the magnitude and the extent of suffering that human experiences produce. And I understand why, because, you know, if you're always aware of the entirety of pain that is present in the world, it's just overwhelming, and it's too much for your consciousness to handle, I would say. Yet it's important to grasp it to a degree, because it is true. And it is wisdom. There's wisdom in it. So I want to, with this video, depict and communicate the tragedy so it's palpable to people. And I will list sort of average experiences that I think most people undergo in life. Let's start simple. There's a lot of dissatisfaction that people experience. People have high expectations, hence they get disappointed because reality does not match their high expectation. And disappointment, so it lies around every corner. And so many people are dissatisfied, you know, with it, whether it's with their job, with their family, with their social life. There's so many points in life that you can be dissatisfied about. And people nowadays, I don't know if it was different in the past, but easily let that dissatisfaction cannibalize the other aspects of their life. So they think, well, my job is boring and I don't enjoy it, and then that just makes them entirely miserable, and it sort of flavors their day-to-day mood continually. So that's one thing. And the reason why dissatisfaction is so prevalent is because you have, I would say, you have like a limited, let's say 5, maybe it's between 3 and 5 aspects of your life that you really need to have in order or sorted out in order to, you know, not be miserable. It's like, what's your family life like? What's your romantic life like? What's your career like? What's your health like? Something like that. And if one of those are absent, it can drain your positive emotions that you experience and really fill them or replace them with just dissatisfaction. And today in life, you know, we live in quite a stressful world where you have, you know, your job is, you know, requires the majority of your time, and it's stressful. So you don't have time by default to allocate to maintaining your family or your relationship or your health. Or if you're, you know, and then you think, okay, well, the career is hopefully fulfilling. But what if it's not? And a lot of people don't have a fulfilling career. So then they have a career that occupies the most of their time, and does not energize them. So you have that out of the way. Then you have very little time to take care of your health, your family, and your relationship, or your social life. You know, it's just difficult to get right, let's put it like that. Yeah, and the solution to that dissatisfaction is you need these mental processes that encourage or that undergo sort of gratitude reflections, where you realize how much you actually have in life and how you should appreciate them, and that brings you positive emotions. But that takes discipline and energy to invest. You need to sort of build that habit of reflecting and, you know, appreciating what you have, but that takes energy. Again, that's a difficult thing to do. Then you have illnesses. You have mental and physical illnesses. I don't know if it's an exaggerated statistic, but I once looked up, I think 1 in 3 people have cancer in their life. That's a lot. And then let alone mental things. You know, as I said, life nowadays is quite difficult to balance, and you need these pillars in your life present in order to live somewhat, you know, pleasantly. And if you don't have them, let alone your body, but your mind suffers under that, because you have that dissatisfaction and you can decline into a depression then. So that's another thing. What the hell do I do with my life? That's a good question. You know, young people, especially for somebody like myself, I question, what do I do with my life? You know, I have things that I enjoy, but there are so many people around who try to give advice, and it's very conflicting. And there's also a lack of healthy advice to a degree. People don't give, you know, wise advice, I would say, or don't argue it clearly. So there's just a lot of confusion. Fun always comes to an end. No matter how much fun you have over a weekend or you go on vacation, it always comes to an end. That's kind of sad. That evokes a poignant feeling. You know, you can go on vacation, have all the fun, but then you come back to your day-to-day life where that fun ends, the fun you had in the vacation, and that, you know, that the idea that it always comes to an end, that's tragic, seemingly tragic. I think it's actually necessary to find meaning in life, but that's for another video. But just in itself, that's really sad. You can experience a lot of stress and anxiety also, because you know there is always something you can be doing to improve your life. Whether it's work harder, take on an extra job to earn more money, go to the gym more frequently, take care of your health. There's always something you can do to make your future life seemingly better. And that's anxiety provoking. And especially, you know, in let's say a system or a society which encourages or puts an emphasis on optimization and effectiveness, efficiency. You have this, especially if you're a conscientious person, that burden of knowing all the things you could still be doing or still need to be done. That stresses you out. That's not. I think everybody is permanently at risk of declining psychologically. You know, if you know, this dissatisfaction can really get to you. If you don't have a social life, you might begin to become lonely, and loneliness is a detrimental occurrence. It's really bad, really bad. Or depression, or you might be sparking, you have trauma, you know, you're probably, I think most people have some kind of trauma that occurred, that was triggered or implemented in their childhood. You know, people are hurt. People just get hurt, really. People have a continuous fear of, you know, being excluded, humiliated, judged. That stresses on their mind, and, you know, the mental processes to overcome that, you know, build a sense of self-value, confidence. That takes effort, that takes discipline, that's an uphill task. That's difficult, again. I think society is permanently at the verge of destabilizing. You know, there's chaos at your front door. You could, you know, even at home, not even society, but at your front door, you know, you might lose your job. You might have an accident and then be, you know, hospitalized. You know, a pandemic might suddenly be triggered, and the whole world goes into a hibernation, as we've experienced. You know, there's always something. And that's because life is so complex. There are so many variables at play, and it doesn't take much for them to be sort of put into a concoction, quickly shaken and opened, and then just chaos to create pure sort of pandemonium, no, what do you call it? Bedlam, you know, to just release like bedlam. Yeah. And meanwhile, there are so many distractions you have in life which, you know, help you, or let's say force you to overlook the limited time you still have with your loved ones. You know, you're on your phone, you're working at the job that you don't really enjoy, or that, you know, you're occupied with something, you're never actually reflecting, and then suddenly 10 years have gone past, you're 10 years older, and somebody in your family dies, and you didn't really spend much time with them. And that brings me to my next point. Everybody you love will die eventually. All your loved ones will die, especially the ones older than you, will eventually be gone. And if you fully grasp that, it's a really difficult realization. Because when you understand that, you notice, well, if your loved ones are gone, that means they never come back. And you miss them. And that missing your loved ones and knowing they'll never come back, that's like a heart-wrenching kind of realization. That's bad. I think that's the worst of them all. And there's nothing you can do about it. And then you question yourself, who the hell came up with that? Like, why is it like that? And if you really love people, and then the prospect of them leaving forever, that's the worst of them all, I think. Yeah. I could go on, honestly. Now, what I want to do is, for the next few days, dive deeper into these sources of pain in life and really try to develop them into a more full-fledged sort of analysis of these points of suffering. And I haven't even delved into evil yet. You know, the proclivity for people to hurt each other for the sake of hurting each other. That's another whole inherent aspect of humans, and how really humans are not only potentially, you know, in hell because they're just subjected to these harsh conditions, but they're also complicit in creating hell. They are the devils. They're sort of in the devil's territory, but they are also the manufacturers in the devil's workshop at the same time. Yeah. Thanks for listening.